Ladies and gentlemen, and anyone else watching, I see you out there, and I'm wondering if you don't have anything better to do, like maybe wash your clothes or count your underwear, who knows what. This presentation will not qualify for continuing education credit. Oh, my mouth got stuck, sorry. Too many Cracker Jacks. Anyway, no education credit simply because it's not good enough for education credit. The presenter today is Brock Exling. Brock is a tax lawyer practicing with the law firm of Gassman, Denicolo, Ketron, and Puppet. Brock went to the University of Florida LLM program and won many book awards. He went to Stetson Law School, and then he made a very bad decision to join the law firm of Gassman, Crotty, Denicolo, Puppet, and Exling. So here we are, Brock. How do you like the program so far?
It's great. Thanks for the very humble introduction, partner Puppet. And I've really enjoyed my time being back at the firm since completing the LLM program, and excited to talk a little bit today about, how we can use AI and help it expedite our legal services.
Can puppets use AI?
Not as well as humans, I've heard, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
I was using it and it makes my head spin. Okay, here's Gassman. The show gets worse now. Bye. All right. Welcome everyone to this episode of how to use AI to accelerate your estate planning practice. And I must say that the AI that we've been using, which is actually four different varieties, has gotten better and better. And the varieties we've been using are Copilot, Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT. And have I missed any, Brock?
Gemini?
Gemini as well. So all of these platforms are quite impressive. There's a ton of knowledge. There's a lot of IQ, a lot of checklist items, a lot of creative thinking, and a lot of mistakes. So we've been working really hard to make the very best use of AI without getting too distracted by it, because it will save you 4 hours and then it will cost you 2.5 hours. And we'll be showing you how and why that is. But it is certainly much better than it was 6 months ago, and much better than it was a year ago. So maybe Ohm's law, which is that in the computer world, things get twice as powerful every 2 years and half as expensive every 2 years. Hopefully that will continue. Now, we have a slideshow, and also we're going to be using the StateView software. The program, as the Puppet says, does not qualify for continuing education credit. We strongly encourage you to try the AI at estateview.link. If you put estateview.link in your browser right now, if you're not an EstateView subscriber, because you can do this right along with us, just put estateview.link in your browser and then select Pro Plus to create an account. Put your email address in there, real or fake. And then the code to enter is 12-13-25, which happens to be today's date. So you put your email address there, 12-13-25 there, and then click sign up, and you'll be in EstateView. Now, if you want to attend one of Peter Farrell's workshops on a Friday or a Wednesday, noon Eastern Standard Time, they're a lot of fun. People have met other people and married them during these workshops. Poetry can be recited, a lot of rock and roll, all sorts of things. You never know what's going to happen at a Peter Farrell EstateView Masterclass workshop. Okay, Brock started as a law clerk in our firm. What was it, your first year or second year of law school?
That's right, my second semester, my first year of law school.
Yep. Every lawyer in our firm, other than me, clerked at our law firm while at Stetson Law School. And every lawyer, almost all the lawyers in our firm, then finished Stetson, went and got a master's degree in tax or estate planning law, and then made a terrible decision coming back to our law firm. I also wanted to thank Marty Shinkman and Tom Teets, his partner of the Shinkman Teets law firm up in New Jersey. They've done a lot to help us understand AI and simply talking about AI. And we welcome all your questions today. You know a lot about AI as well. So, and Dale, I will cover about how I'm presently dictating to AI. So I think everybody on this webinar understands what AI is. You understand the dangers and the advantages of using AI. You understand that AI should not be used for credit reporting or decisions as to extending credit, employment decisions, um, or landlord tenant decisions. That's against the Federal Trade Commission. So just wanted to mention that early on so you don't use AI for those things. Brock, anything that you think I should mention before we open up and show some applications?
I think just my preliminary thoughts on AI before we get started are that it's not a lawyer and it's not research authority, but it's an extremely fast drafting and thinking partner. And if you give it a role, a goal, and constraints, and you're really going to find productivity in its output rather than just kind of going to ChatGPT and asking a one sentence question, expecting you're going to get a single output that's going to be your resolution. So I think it's just all about how you orient your use of it, and it can be a really impactful tool.
Right. The other thing I'll mention is, and everyone knows this, but we have to mention it, is it is against the bar rules and against good business practices to use an AI tool that learns from what you ask it or even knows what you ask it. So the bar rules for lawyers say you must use a closed AI system. I call it a closed AI system. The AI system does not learn from what you're giving it. If you're using Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude, these Genesis, these are all very good, but they have settings, and you must use the setting that says will not learn from this. And you have to be very careful because it's very easy for somebody, anyone, even you accidentally, to click somewhere that suddenly it's learning. So to be double careful before you would have it analyze somebody's trust, you could go through and sterilize the whole trust, or make sure you're using a system that does not learn from the AI. And again, the Federal Trade Commission rules, just want to see if I can find them. I thought I had them here. Federal Trade Commission rules, no employment screening, no credit, loans, or financing evaluation, no evaluating a person for housing or residential lease purposes or for credit reporting. For those things, you need consent from the person. So we want to just make that very, very clear. I'm going to start off with estate view. I'm going to use the estate view as a vehicle to show you what we're doing with multiple forms of AI. You don't need estate view to do what I'm showing you. But estate view, because estate view uses 3 AI platforms simultaneously, we can show you what those platforms may be. So I went to estateview.link, which you can do for free with a free trial. And if you need an extension to the trial, just let me know. And I'm going to show you, go to account, bottom left-hand side, and then the bottom left-hand side, choose an authentication method. So if you're going to use this in your law firm or your financial planning firm, your CPA firm, you want to make sure that your janitor can't come in and check out what you've been doing. So I can click on Authenticator app or email app or email and Authenticator. Then when I go to use it the next time, it's going to it's going to go to my Authenticator in my phone, or it's going to send me an email code. So just to be safe, wanted to let you know that that's something that you should be doing. Brock, is it possible to do that with a Chat GPT subscription or a Copilot, or they just accept a password without authentication? I would
I'm
think.
not sure. I'm not sure if you can add a two-factor authentication to those. I would think you could, but I've never done it.
Okay. So then I'm going to go to the second column. When I go to estateview.link and I've given it my password, I'm a subscriber. It says hello to me, which is nice because most people don't say hello to me. And
Hey, Alan, I
then,
don't think your screen is sharing if you're trying to share. So
oh,
just,
oh my gosh, I apologize. Thanks for telling me.
yeah.
Let me share screen. All right. So they missed my beautiful PowerPoint also, huh? All right. So here I am at estateview.link, and across the top is our instant plan, our single client comprehensive, married comprehensive. Those don't use AI except for one exception. But now under AI, I can click on document review, background check, tax return review, or other AI. So I'm going to click on other AI, and then it's going to open. And it opens to the last thing that I was doing, which I did a background search on myself to make sure that I haven't done anything wrong lately. And across the top here, you see that I can use OpenAI, Gemini, or Claude. And for each of these, there is a fast speed, less accurate, less detailed application called fast, or a more detailed application called Pro. And to let you know what that does, so I ran a background report on myself, and it gave a lot of information. But what I can do, and this is what is kind of neat, just to show you, is I can click on review with other AI, because our concern was AI hallucinates, it makes mistakes. So can one AI check the work of another AI? Now, when I click on review with other AI, now I can choose ChatGPT 5 or O3. The 5 is the Pro, the O3 would be the Fast. Gemini, Pro or Flash, or Claude, their Fast is the Haiku, their Pro is the Sonnet. So I'm really liking Claude. So I can click on Claude, and I can click on Get Review. So now what it's doing is it's taking a look at the background search that was done by GPT, by ChatGPT 5.0, and it's said that it's an exceptionally analytic rigor and it did a good job. It doesn't always say that. So that's so it does a good job. It also even critiques our notice. We gave notice that you of the things you can't use this for, and it suggests an improvement, Brock, on the notice that we give our own clients in the report that it issued on me. When I'm scrolling down to keep up with it, and it will automatically scroll. But if it scrolls too fast, then I can just scroll. I can cause it to not move forward. So that's just a simple introduction. So what I can do now is I can go to start new search, and then I can choose my engine. And Gemini, Google is what we generally recommend. And then I can choose any one of these things. So Brock, let's talk about tax research. So
Yeah.
I'll click on tax research, and I can insert a document. For example, what Brock and I are doing is we use Checkpoint for research, and it has AI as well. But when we're done, Checkpoint doesn't have all the information that Claude, Genesis, and ChatGPT have. It's limited to what Checkpoint has. So Brock can put a memo into this area, drag it into this area, and then ask it to critique the memo. We could do this without a document though, and we can simply ask a question. So Brock, what's a good question? Will 2036 apply if I set up a trust and give the trustee the right to add me as a beneficiary? So that's a pretty good question, and I will ask Claude Pro that question. Now, it will now be looking at the internet, but it's following our protocol. And our protocol tells Claude to go into the internet, check articles written by any one of 30 different authors that we selected. We selected some websites that we think are very good, including one tax magazine that's available online. Then we tell it to verify with the Internal Revenue Code regulations and law,
Yeah.
concentrating on tax court cases. And it comes out with, as you can see here, a pretty nice analysis. And then I will click on Review AI, and I will let ChatGPT review it. Click on that, and now ChatGPT is going to review it, and they will bring up things that we did not think about. I mean, Brock and I both have post-law master's degrees in tax. We've been using this, and it comes up with things that were not in Checkpoint and that we just didn't think about. It will also come up with some incorrect conclusions, and then we'll have to send it back. But Brock, anything that you would say here? Research?
I think that's right. Definitely checking all the citations always. But then in a question like this, what I might do is find a really good treatise that Checkpoint had pointed me to and download the PDF into the Estate View AI conversation. And then ask the AI to constrain its answers to the material I'm providing it. Right? Items like that to just reorient it and ask it questions. What arguments cut the other way? And it can be very creative and thinking through the logical arguments that might be in opposition.
Right. And now you see, which I just think is so interesting, that Claude is brutally critiquing what Genesis did. So Claude's going through a lot of responses. It's talking about toggling on and off grantor trust status. It's talking about Revenue Ruling 95-58. It's getting into, a lot of good stuff.
And I find Claude is the best in terms of pulling correct case law and PLRs. It seems to be a little bit more accurate than GPT.
Right. What has Steve Akers said about this? We found that there's a lot of Steve Akers things available. I think that it's getting to the Bessemer Trust updates that he does. So then just the ability to see what Steve Akers says and to base it on, because anything Steve Akers has written is pretty darn good. That's powerful. We've also been downloading books that Marty Shinkman and I and Jonathan Blottmacher have been reading, which we think are pretty reliable. So it pulls all that together. And then at the end, if you say, write a client-friendly letter, my client is an electrical engineer, or my client is a kindergarten teacher, it will put together a letter at that level, and then it will put together a PowerPoint deck. So it's certainly going to save a lot of time and trouble. And Brock and I have also found that you can put a 100-page trust in there, and within 3 minutes, it's telling you, issues about that trust that candidly you want to know about, whether you really want to know about it or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in terms of large data sets at this point, it can cull through it so fast and with such a lower error rate than a human that it's necessary to be using.
Right. I mean, the new standard of practice is going to be you can't rely on just Checkpoint, Bloomberg, VNA, and CCH. You try Claude. But you're right. We have found that Claude just has a lot more knowledge and a lot more creativity than the other for tax research. Okay, so I'm just going to stop this search. And by the way, sometimes Claude can go for 100 pages, and then you've got to cull through it or use the simplify button. But I'll stop the search. I clicked on stop the search. I can come back to it later. And let's look at something else. So earlier today, I had another question that we talked about. And what I did was I inputted a trust agreement, an irrevocable life insurance trust, and a client plans to swap the life insurance policy for appreciated assets, and then he would like to get a step up on death. So I just put the trust into the program, and it indicates the trust is irrevocable. Here's what it would take under state law that I chose to analyze it. It did have an independent fiduciary provision. It also had trust protector provisions. So it told me exactly what strategies are available. It gave me the statute sections, and then it drew up the agreement. So there's the agreement. It cites the trust. It gives me the whereas clauses. It gives me the power of appointment language. Now, the most important thing is, and a notice to the surviving spouse where she signs off. If she's in New Jersey, it'll give me the notary block for New Jersey. This is a definite time saver. I mean, if you can't save time with this, then something's wrong. But you have to spend time making sure that it's correct. So then I said, write an article for the Florida Bar Journal to review what has to happen to make a basis step up occur when there's no independent fiduciary section. So then it wrote me the article. Now, I could make this into an article by me, I believe. It would take me a few hours, but not as many hours as it would have taken. And then it goes through and gave me a comparative analysis of strategies. So that's a real live application. I had a meeting on Wednesday with a client on Zoom, and during the meeting, the client wanted to amend the trust to change the trusteeship. So during the meeting, I was watching this. I was talking to the client, but telling him I was also, during the conversation, preparing the documents. Within 10 minutes, I had a trust protector action that did exactly what the client wanted. And I went ahead and sent it to the client and the CPA and said, this was just prepared by Claude. I haven't looked at it yet, but give me your comments. So it did give me the comments. Brock, anything to add to that?
Just that I think the depth of the output there that you can see is attributable to the significant prompts that we have in place to, trigger the analysis that you're not going to get unless you have a very long conversation with an unprompted AI to get to that point. So something I really like about estate views is that my starting place is so much more in depth than where I start with just going to ChatGPT or just going to Gemini that's unprompted.
Right. Now, a law firm could, even individual lawyers can certainly come up with their own protocols. And you could probably go to ChatGPT or at Claude and say, what should my protocols be for tax research when you do tax research? But we have spent, hundreds of hours developing these protocols, so they should be helpful. Now, Marty Shinkman is a big fan of the background search because he likes to know who he's dealing with when he gets a new client. So what we've done with Marty's help is set up a regimen. So when you want to know about somebody or about a company, it will automatically give you a basic profile, a business association search, a property search, a legal history search, medical license, a professional license search, etc. But you may not want all of these things. You may want something briefer or more brief. It will also create a CV for somebody. But what Marty wants to know is court records and adverse findings. Now, it is not by any means foolproof. It will miss things. It will not spot everything, but it will give you a lot of good information as well. So I just want to mention that. And again, everything I'm showing you here, you don't need to do on Estate View. You can do on ChatGPT, and then you could copy and paste it from ChatGPT into Claude and ask Claude to review ChatGPT. We've just tried to make it a little bit easier. Other things we have is, and you can use this, is before I sign my tax return, I can put it in and ask for errors or suggested changes. And then I can also say, if I have the same situation next year, but my income is 400,000 higher, what will my tax liability be, and what should I do differently in my tax planning? And it will give you that. So let me answer a couple of questions here. Why is my response in Spanish? I don't know. Maybe you're in Mexico. What is it about Claude that makes Alan like it so much? Do you want to answer that, Brock?
I think it's that Claude initially developed as a code-based AI, where they were helping advance the AI on the C++ and Python side of coding technology, whereas a lot of the other ones like ChatGPT started as large language models only. Claude is now a combination of its initial coding-based platforms and large language models, which I find also makes it better. For example, if I gave AI a 3-page short section of an operating agreement and just asked it to just put out the text I'm providing it, it will oddly have errors in doing that. It can take all the words and it'll jumble them up slightly, but Claude is incredibly good at taking a 50-page document and just identifying all the text and actually spitting it right back out for you with very small changes and less inaccuracies when doing so. So that's my best explanation.
Right, right. So somebody said, what am I doing on my dictation? What I'm doing and what we're going to release pretty soon is, and it's a 2-step process. Hopefully it'll become a 1-step process. By the way, I'm just going to type, write a letter describing the annual exclusion and using LLCs for gifting, and mention New York estate tax and look backs for John and Molly, my clients, and mention their 4 children and crummy powers. Now, what I'm doing right now, in my dictation is I do a lot of dictation in my car. So I simply use a conventional electronic dictaphone. We send that to Temi, T-E-M-I. That's not too much information. It's T-E-M-I, or Otter, O-T-T-E-R. And then Temi or Otter will provide me with a transcript. It's not a good transcript. It's a laughable transcript. And it'll say, I mean, that was, let's correct that, and all the things that you normally do when you dictate a letter. But I also, when I dictate the letter, say, hey, ChatGPT, when you're working on this, can you please make that paragraph I just dictated much better and run all the math and also explain the advantages of a charging order? And then it will do that. So I'll get a letter back. First, I send it to Temi. Temi says all that in awkward style. Then ChatGPT goes through my 40-point protocol. You can't just put it in ChatGPT. It won't be that good. But it will be my 40-point protocol. And then the letter I get back is as good, if not better, as what I would get from a good typist. Now, it's not as good as what I would get from a great typist, but it's pretty darn good. And now you see it just did a letter to John and Molly about gifting and annual exclusions and the New York estate tax, and it explains it pretty well. Now, it's still going. It looks like a pretty darn good letter. But will I read that whole letter before I send it to them? I'll scan it, and then I'll say, I had AI write this letter. It seems to be right to me. If you want, we can perfect it. But the other thing we'll do, we'll again review with other AI, as I did before, can have Gemini Pro take a look at it. And then Gemini Pro will make suggestions, and then I'll ask Gemini Pro to rewrite it. Then when it's done, I'll send that back to Claude, and if Claude agrees, then I'll look at the letter, and it'll be a pretty good letter. So, Brock, should we let you share screen and show us some things that you wanted to?
Yeah, I can show that operating agreement thing we did and show how AI helped us with that.
Sure, yeah, let's do that. And then you can also show us what you're doing with Copilot, because a lot of people have Copilot, but really don't know much about it.
Yeah. Okay. So you see my screen here.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my Microsoft 365 Copilot platform. And you can see here at the top, I actually can toggle between work and web. So when I'm in work mode, it's first deriving its outputs from our internal data through our other Microsoft suites, including Word, Excel, Microsoft Word files that might be saved in your OneDrive. So I find that the host of data that it's using here is exactly what you have in your directories at your office, rather than going and pulling the first Google article you found. There's a lot of incorrect information on Google that ChatGPT loves to soak up and give you a summary of 9 different articles that are all slightly off. And so I like to use this work tab a lot. If I wanted to switch to web, I can do so here. You can see also, similar to the other AIs we've been using, I can toggle on the speed at which I want it to produce an output for me. And I always like to use Think Deeper. And then this green shield here is because we're using this under a business platform. You can see we have enterprise data protection on the Microsoft 365. But, I can quickly show you a research question. Like I'll throw a PDF in here. This is a really good memorandum I found from a law firm on 1202 research. And I might say, explain the intersection of IRC 1202 and IRC 643F. And I've provided it, a couple different good outlines on this topic. And it's immediately going to go to those PDFs that I've grabbed and derive as much of the text from those PDFs as it can. And you can kind of just see it's similarly taking a little bit of time, but.
So are you finding that Copilot is smarter than ChatGPT, or it seems to be identical? I don't recall where Copilot comes from.
It's really hard to differentiate I couldn't say that one of these is smarter than the other. When I'm comparing ChatGPT, Gemini, and 365, I really think it's all about how you've prompted yourself. And that's true across any of these AIs. But you can see how I get a pretty good memo. Okay, gifting qualified small business stock into multiple trusts is the essence of the stacking method, right? And we look into 643. It's pulled from the regs. But this might be, this is a highly technical area. And I would say to this, okay, give me one technical explanation letter and one layman explanation letter. It'll generate me two different letters. The technical one will be for myself. The layman one will be for the client. And I'll use the layman one as the base, and I'll sprinkle in some of the technical points where they matter. But this would be a very simple way that I might convey a quick research memorandum on the overlap of two complex code sections. I find just from an associate attorney standpoint, this is something a lot of associate attorneys are doing around the country right now, is just sort of using the combination of multiple AIs and good starting PDFs and treatises to jumpstart the complex thinking that's involved in some of these code sections and how they operate. So this is Microsoft 365, but something else I wanted to show is the other day I got an assignment from Alan, and he said, so we've got a client who's thinking about investing in one company as a minority owner and one company as a majority owner. I'd like to interlineate an operating agreement where we go through, and with all of the material provisions, we have AI comment on what the key consideration would be for a minority owner signing that operating agreement, what a key consideration might be for a majority owner signing that operating agreement, and a possible compromise. So this is a sterilized operating agreement that we gave to AI, to Estate View AI, and Claude was the one that really got us here on this. But as I'll scroll through this, you can see, complex definitions such as adjusted capital account deficits. It's taken the time to, at a pretty simple level, explain these treasury regulations and what they mean for a minority owner in terms of the economic burden rules and what they mean for a majority owner. And so I found this to be a really cool project, because from this base, you have, a business person who's able to make a lot of informed decisions on how they want to. So here we go with common yield. These definitions create a potential two-tier return structure. For a majority owner, this structure gives you a clear hurdle concept. A possible middle ground is to keep the 8% common yield, but clarify exactly when actually paid. So this was something that was a really tangible output for the client, and was able to really give them good thinking points for their investments and how they wanted to sign on.
I noticed that it misspelled the word compromise. Do you think that was it, or are you rewriting? Because you spent,
Probably because
you probably spent 3 or 4 hours going through what it had done to
that's right.
make it understandable. So would you say that 90% of what it did you used, or 80%? It was clearly not something we could send to the client straight out of Claude.
Absolutely not. And it took multiple iterations. Sometimes there's no better word for it than, I call it AI going dumb on me. It's just sometimes you get in the middle of a chat and you told it was wrong and starts second guessing itself, and it's like you got to get out of that chat and you got to start talking to a new AI bot, because it just sort of will break its head will break on you. So in this one, I get some really good output as we're going through section 6. All of a sudden I get to section 7 and it's like it's speaking an incorrect language. Say, okay, we got to get out of here. Let's start again. So over 4 to 6 hours of iterations of refining those outputs, we were able to get to this place. But it wasn't that this was its initial output.
So Brock, can you tell me, I see on the top right of your screen, editor and Copilot.
Yeah.
A lot of people on this webinar haven't seen Copilot at all, or they have it on their computer. They don't know what to do with it. I have it on my computer. I don't know what to do with it. So can you just give us a little 4-minute?
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, actually, because you can see here that now I'm not in Microsoft 360 Copilot like I was here, where it's a separate window, right? Microsoft Copilot is connected to all my Microsoft applications. So within Word here, I can now ask specific questions about this document specifically, right? And it's so this AI tool sort of follows me through Excel, Word, Outlook. And so, for this one, for example, I might say, do you have any recommendations to how we have explained the tag along and drag along provision? But I don't really have to prompt it now at the same level of depth as I otherwise would have, because it knows I'm only talking about this document with it.
Wow.
So you can see here, ensure the provisions are in clear and straightforward language. Avoid excessive legal jargon.
Now, will it redraft for you and redline?
I don't know if it'll redline.
I don't know. That's so frustrating that with all this intelligence, it will not draft a document yet. I think you can I think there's a company called Spellbook that's like $250 a month that'll redline a document. Estate View will revise a document, and it'll do a fairly good job revising a document, but it will not redline it for you. You have to save it as a separate Word document and then do a manual compare. Although we have some redlining work, but not good enough to release.
So this one says that I've got the wrong file type here, or it appears empty, corrupted, or in a format that it cannot process so as to generate a red line.
Yeah.
But theoretically, I think you could, yes. And then it has, preloaded questions you can ask it. And in Outlook as well, when you're drafting an email, it will sort of suggest your sentence as you start saying, for purposes of, mine will say federal gift and estate tax. So it starts to learn your language a bit.
Now, what does that editor button do? Is that a different function than Copilot?
Yeah, this is a AI assisted editor function basically, but this is just the new Microsoft Word suites, spell check and grammar check. Back in the day, you used to have a spell check, and then you used to remember Grammarly was a suite that you could throw on the top. Now, Grammarly's technology is essentially by default inside of the grammar checks that AI is running.
Right.
And so I'll just, when I check a document at the end of formatting, I click through all of these. That's like one of my final items as I'm, formatting. But that's mostly all I have to share. But
as a secretary is typing a document or working on a document, or a lawyer or other professionals working on a document, does Copilot interrupt you and say, wait a minute, you spelled that wrong, wait a minute, that's not
it will
good?
autocorrect you. It'll autocorrect you most of the time.
Can you show us how that works in a minute or less?
Let's see here. Let's just go to the bottom of this document. See if we can start misspelling something. Oh, maybe not. But I think that there's a way to have autocorrect on for your word features.
Okay. And it doesn't seem to be very good with Excel yet, even though Excel is a Microsoft product. Copilot doesn't. Well, actually, I'm sure it's quite good if you say, give me a Excel spreadsheet that shows what would happen if I save $100,000 a year for 22 years with a 6.25% rate of return. I'm sure it'll prepare that spreadsheet, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll open my estate view back up. Let's see, share. Let's see where it is. Try and find. Must be closed on my computer here. Okay. So let me see where our questions are. Sorry, everybody. I'm a little bit. I pushed something down. I got to put it on a different screen, and then I want to answer everyone's questions, and then we could talk about some other things. So, by the way, I posted the discussion of the New York annual gifting letter that it wrote in case anyone wants to look at that. I've also posted the PowerPoint and a PDF of the PowerPoint for today. And I've posted a bunch of fillable PDFs. And I'll go to home here. Oh, first I was going to answer questions. Do I find that my legal fees are lower because of AI? Well, yes, I'm able to be more efficient and I'm writing off less time because we're more efficient. We charge for secretary time in our office, and those charges are coming down a little bit. Are my legal fees lower because of AI? Often not, because I'm able to be more thorough. AI is showing me things that I needed to put in that agreement that I didn't. But that's a great question. Another question is, can AI find legal forms? And the answer is sort of inconsistent. But I'll go to AI document review, and you can see my screen, Brock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'll go to a new search, and I'll choose Claude, and I'll go to trust or estate document, and I'll go to Florida, and then I'll load in a document, and then I'm going to go to amend trust, and my trust amendment information is there on the left, and I'm going to add my scrivener protector provision. I'm going to add powers to allow distributions to charity so that they can be deductible. And down here, I'm going to say add a robust pet trust provision to apply for all horses and their descendants for the longest period allowed, funded by 5 million, and is 4 acres in Ocala. And then I'll click on generate amendment. So it's taking my document, it's reviewing my document, and then it's going to provide an amendment to my document. And there it is. It appoints a scrivener protector using our preferred language for it, which we've given. And you could insert your own scrivener protector language, but it's improved our scrivener protector language. It's very interesting. It reformatted it and it added language. Then there's my expansion of trustee charitable powers. Now I'm going to read this carefully and not rely on it, but quite candidly, it's better than our normal language. And it does give you a lot of language. I don't know where this language comes from, but I guess other people are using it and it's learning from other people's trusts. And there's my rule against perpetuities pet trust endowment with a lot of things in it that I wouldn't have thought about. Now, the next thing I can ask it to do is I can say restate and amend the whole trust with this language. Now, I'll tell you, sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. It's not going to get started yet because it's still working on the pet trust. That is one heck of a pet trust. But the other thing I'll mention is on forms, what I found is I'll say, I would like to do an employment agreement for a business executive in the medical industry. Can you please find me a form for this, searching public records under 10Ks and 10Qs of publicly traded companies? So then it will search the internet for publicly traded companies that have disclosed an employment agreement for a medical executive, and it will tell you where those are. And then you can go get it from the 10K or 10Q report. So this does not by any means replace anybody's form book or anybody's form systems, but it certainly can help you improve things. Brock, any ideas or comments on that?
No, I think that's right. I will say, to the extent math is involved, also, the other day I gave it the facts and asked whether a certain estate should make a 645 election and elect the fiscal year, and it is so spot on in its mathematical analysis that turned once was a 3-hour research question into a quick 20-minute conversation with AI.
So anyway, now you see Claude at fast speed, which is not even the best Claude, is completely retyping our agreement and inserting the provisions that I asked for. So now I can offer the client a restatement and amendment. Now, of course, I'm going to compare this back and make sure it hasn't missed anything. And yes, sometimes they do miss things. But and look at that, it's giving me optional clauses that I can consider. It's not a speed demon. It may take 20 minutes. I may have to put this on another screen, of course. And I personally print everything that I review. I don't review anything beyond 150 words on screen. I just find that I'm a much better, thorougher reviewer once I've printed it. But that's what you can do with a trust. And you put your favorite trust in there and ask it to improve your favorite trust, and you will get some pretty good suggestions. So another question is, where is the switch on estate view to share or not share with the AI? We don't have a switch that would allow it. We don't want to allow it. Another question is, how is estate view made safe? And the good news for the whole world and the economic system is that the Amazon based software house, I'll call it, where Amazon can house software, and there's other companies that have this as well. What happens is your computer is interacting directly with Amazon. It's not coming to Estate View. This is between you and Amazon. And it's the same platform that's HIPAA compliant. It's the same platform that the US military uses. And Amazon has treaties, also known as contracts, with Claude, Gemini, and OpenAI, which say thou shalt not learn from the language and from the information that you do with Amazon subscribers. And then on top of that, we have lots of liability insurance. We have an audit, a CPA audit called a SOC 2 audit. So there's a lot of things that are done on the Amazon cloud platform to make sure that the information is not leaked. But if you want to be super careful, you can sterilize the document manually or sterilize the document using Copilot, and then put the document into your AI. But this is really neat because, quite candidly, 6 weeks ago, it would not amend and restate a trust document. But once we added Claude, it started to. So it's a great feature. The next thing, and I think, let me just see if there's any other questions. And uh, it's kind of fun to also ask it to write a poem. You can say, make this whole trust into a poem. So everything rhymes in this trust. And mention Abraham Lincoln at least 14 times. And somehow, on a good day, it will do that, which can make it more fun to read, but it'll warn you not to use it. So, pretty neat stuff. So, I'm going to, oh, it was just done. Good. All right. So, Brock, some other things that I just want to mention. And so, for those of you who are State View subscribers, we now have an instant plan rapid results uh, portal. So I click on instant plan rapid results, and one of the attachments I've given all the attendees is fillable PDF forms. So we find clients like to use fillable PDFs to give us information, or they like to type into a Word document, or they handwrite the information. So what we've done is Estate View has provided a calculator only form. If you just want enough information from the client to run our calculators, you can send them to our calculator only portal or download a PDF. So if I click on download blank PDF, now I can select, is this client married or single as to calculator only, or do I want a married or single form for standard, which is our standard intake form, or do I want a robust intake form? We send clients the standard form, and if it's a substantial client, when we get it back, we export the data into our comprehensive form and send it back to the client and say, thanks for all the information you gave us. Here's a longer form, partly filled in. If you want to give us more information, you certainly can. So this will now create the PDF, and there it is. So this is the latest, greatest PDF. And now I can send this to the client, or I can fill it out partly for the client based on the information I know, or I can have my own white label PDF. But what's really neat, and sorry, I just closed it, meant to open it. Let me open the State View back up. Where did the State View go? Okay. So what's really neat though is last week our programmers got the got a AI system working, which allows me to simply put in my meeting notes and whatever information the client gave us, and it will build that fillable PDF and put the information in there. So what I had was the name and address of the client, and the client had allowed me to make an AI transcript of our conversation. And I knew nothing about this client when it started. He was a friend of a friend, needed a quick estate plan, having a surgery, and I just took copious notes, and I had all the information that I needed. And the next thing I knew, I was able to put that into our portal, and the fillable PDF was filled out, which was very nice to have. So let me find the State View again, because now you're looking at the PowerPoint. I don't know where a State View went. Close that. Open that. I'll start a new Estate View. Okay. So Uh, Brock, is there anything else that well, let me see if there's a new question. Will the materials for today be available on your YouTube channel? Yes, in 3 or 4 hours, it'll be on the YouTube channel. What is Perplexity? Perplexity is another really good AI platform. It's kind of fun because while Perplexity is thinking, it gives you a lot more information about what it's thinking about. So that's good. Um, so this ends our AI presentation. I want to show you what the new instant plan is looking like. So uh, as I said, the instant plan rapid, I can, and if any of you want to, for fun, fill out the calculator only PDF that's an attachment here and send it to us. All we'll do is copy and paste it into this box, and it will create the estate view workup. So what is the estate view workup? Well, I go to instant plan and I put in a new client or an old client and open up the portal. And uh, now I've got the ability to input this data, and I can do it calculator only, in which case I only need to input a few things in order to run our calculators. Or I can base it on the standard input, which is what we most often use, which will have a lot more information. Or I can go with detailed, which will have a literal ton of information. So I can type in all this data into the portal, or I can send the portal to the client and have them get it back to me, or use the fillable PDF. And for now, I'll just replace inputs with sample data, click on confirm there, and then I will click on results. Once I click on results, it has done all the different calculations that I'm looking for. And uh, when I click on export both, I go to the export button at the top, click on export both. Now it asks me, do I want joint ownership? Do I want a revocable trust to own certain things in a joint trust, or do I want separate revocable trusts? I can click on separate revocable trusts. So now it's prepared two spreadsheets using the data from the download into the portal, or using the data from the fillable PDF, or using the raw data uh, assimilated by AI. And the first spreadsheet gives me a column by column summary of assets and liabilities, also telling me if there's any foreign assets and community property with net values like a client would like to see. Second gives me that allocation of assets now and on retirement, then gives me a short personal financial statement summary, and then the planning chart then gives me the um, the planning chart I like to use. Oops, wrong one. Click on planning chart. Yep. So that I still have, as I had before, if you can imagine, you have a meeting with a client, you talk about all these assets, you talk about their array, you talk about their allocation, you just you just get a transcript of that conversation from AI, feed it into Estate View, and Estate View prepares this chart and puts together all this information with uh, different suggestions for the planning. So it's going to continue to get better, but now being able to take the transcript from a conversation and make it into a plan like this, and then also being able to instantly show them their estate tax situation, before and after planning, covering both federal and state estate tax now. If they live in New York, then it gives a federal and New York estate tax plan and discussion. That's where we are today. So, Brock, anything you would like to mention here? We're actually going to end almost on time.
No, nothing else for me. The instant plan is changed. It's been night and day when I left for the LLM program and I've come back. Estate view is just, it's a night and day difference in the developments that it's occurred, and the instant plan is so helpful now.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks very much. I've launched a poll if anyone would like a free trial subscription. The best way to do it is just give us a day and time, anytime, any day, and one of our staff can get on a Zoom call with you and put you on it and make sure that you know how to use it. And I want to wish everyone a fantastic holiday season. I want to thank Neil and Stuart and Dale and Kevin for being on so many of these webinars and giving us so many good ideas on how we can improve this software and, quite candidly, improve the profession, improve what we're doing for clients. So we're very open to any questions, comments, or suggestions you might have. The Sunday before the Heckerling Conference, we will be doing workshops for Estate View subscribers and people interested in it, close to that World Marriott. If you have not received an invite on that, please let us know. We'll be glad to send it. Hey, Brock, you're smarter than I thought.
Thanks, Puppet.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks again.